Hello, everyone, and welcome in. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to Rat Pack Fantasy Football. Alrighty, welcome in everyone. Today we'll be doing the NFL Week 3 AFC Home Game previews. That includes the Sunday Nighter and one of the two Monday Nighters. I got Jesse with me today. How's it going, Jesse?
It's going good. It's getting ready. We got that Thursday night football game coming up. But so yeah, I'm pretty excited to dive into the week and check out the AFC slate, even though there are a couple really ugly games on the schedule.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of ugly games this week. I think this Thursday night or tonight's going to be ugly. The Giants with no Barkley. Not good.
It's going to be just a bloodbath for them.
All right, so I guess let's get into it. First up, we have Bengals-Rams. This is the Monday Nighter. Oh, and I did it with the graphic where I have this stupid thing at the bottom, and it annoys me. Bear with me for 5 seconds here. I know it's not a big issue, but I'm OCD, and it bothers the hell out of me. So we have the Rams at the Bengals on Monday night. The Bengals are only 3-point favorites. This should tell you how bad the Bengals season has gone so far, that they're only 3-point favorites. We'll start at QB. Joe Burrow is a must start despite his play, if he plays. Matt Stafford, I don't know. He's a tough one for me. I still see him as a mid-range QB too. I know he's been really good for NFL play through the first 2 weeks of the season, but he's still only putting up like 15 to 18 points per game. If you have him in a super flex league, he's consistent. You can play him. I'm still not playing him in a one QB. I think, let me find the matchups here. Burrow is the fourth best matchup. So like I said, if he plays, he's an easy start. Stafford is the sixth worst matchup. So like I said, he's really more of a super flex option than anything. What are your thoughts here, Jesse?
I think that just highlights the defenses these two teams have played and like who they've been going against, because the Bengals have been terrible, but it's a really good matchup, right? Their offense has been trash. Where on the flip side, the Rams have been really good, but they've needed that offense all the way throughout. So I kind of have them closer together than those rankings suggest this week, just because Stafford's been really good. And he's going to be like a high-end range QB2 for me this week. It's just you're kind of betting on him and the talent, but the Bengals defense is good, so this could be a problem. And if the Bengals aren't able to really score, like the Rams are going to need to push the tempo. So it kind of could bring them back down. So I'm a little bit worried in this matchup in general, but like if you're starting, a player like Stroud or one of those guys, like I would just trust Stafford. It's just like a safer bet because those other guys can get a little bit out of control.
That's an interesting choice. Stroud, if you had asked me going into week 2, I think I would have easily said Stafford, but Stroud looked pretty good. I get it. Their offense isn't going to throw that much, but I don't know. Stroud, I own him in my main dynasty league. I own the first round, and he kind of defaulted to me because the other guy I owned 11 of the first 12 picks. I traded the last 2, but so I made every pick in the first 10 except for the number 2. And the guy at number 2 took Bryce Young, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll take CJ Stroud. I can't let him fall. But I don't know. Last week was the first time I've actually been hopeful for how Stroud looked, but
yeah, he looked really good. I mean, he's like of the quarterbacks, he's right up there. Like Young's looks so much worse than the future 2 games.
Yes,
Young looks good, man.
Yeah.
He's looked good.
The running backs here, we've got Mixon, who has been Mr. Consistent but boring. It's a middle of the pack start. He's a middle of the pack running back. He's still, given the landscape here, he's probably a surefire low end RB1 at worst. Start him. Kyren Williams, it's also a middle of the pack matchup for him. He's been really good. I think I have him ranked right now as a low-end RB1. I don't feel great about it, but that tells you more about how bad running back is right now than anything. But I'm starting both of them. Williams, I think I'm probably more comfortable if he's my RB2. I'm sure there's a league where he's my RB1, but I don't love it. But how do you feel about these guys?
Yeah, I mean the usage and volume for Kyren Williams right now is off the charts, where it's wheels up for him. So you want a piece of this offense, and he's the main focal point along with Puka Nacua, who we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, like he's been really good, and he's far exceeding his expected points per game and all of that stuff. So he'll probably come back down to earth in this matchup, but you're starting him unless you're like absolutely stacked at running back, right? Like their offense has been too good for me to just bench him in this matchup.
I did my trade value chart that I don't know if it's been published. What's the day? No, it comes out tomorrow. And so I did my trade value chart. It kind of, factors in the production they've had so far this season. It factors in their situation, factors in the strength of schedule, and then moving forward, what they're projected with for the rest of the season. And I looked up, and I think just based on the numbers, Kyron Williams, I think he came out as like RB5 on the rest of the season for me.
Yeah.
When I've seen the graphic, because I just typed the numbers, and then I hit, upload or whatever to convert it to graphic, and the graphic came up, and I said, "Ooh, wow!" So the numbers. See, I normally trust my numbers, and the numbers are normally pretty good, but I got there and I said, "Oh my!" That's one of the ones where it's like, he came up as RB4 for me, but I think I'm going to treat him more as like RB 10 to 12. But the numbers definitely, with Cam Akers out of town, they definitely say this could be him this year. So that's an interesting one. I guess we can move on here to wide receiver. This one's scary because it depends on Burrow. It sounds like he's going to play. I was just listening to a pod, and they said it looks like he's good to go. We've got Chase. We've got Higgins. You're starting both. I know it's been up and down, but no choice there. Boyd, I think you can flex if you have to. On the Rams side of the ball, actually, the matchups are back-to-back. They're both about worst 10 to 12 here. I think I'm starting Puka Nacua. I think he's a wide receiver too. I think my projections, he's another one. This Ram offense, the way they've played, they've run an insane amount of plays. So they both came out, like Williams and Nacua came out higher in my weekly rankings. I think Nacua came out as like 10 for me or something, but I don't think Nacua is that high. I would see him as a wide receiver too. I'm still taking Chase. I'm still taking Higgins over him, but he'd probably be the third choice for me in this game. Tutu Atwell, if you've got a flex, just kind of throw him in. Pray that they keep up the pass volume. Other than that, I think those are the only or the wide receivers I want on the Rams. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like Puka and Tutu. They've been fantastic. I think Puka basically his usage is like 28 points per game up to this point. So realistically, you're getting better than Cooper Kupp's ever been if that was extrapolated for a season.
So the two Bengals, the two Rams, and then Tyler Boyd, right?
Yeah, I really don't like playing Boyd just because he's such a floor play. It's really hard to trust him. So I get it. Like if you need a floor play, like you can play him, but it just comes back to this matchup and how confident in you are in the Bengals offense. Because like, are they going to be able to support all three guys? Like they haven't been able to yet. And Chase is the one that's like his fantasy points is like wide receiver 65, even though his expected is like wide receiver 18. So he's the one that's really struggling. But yeah, you can play Floyd if you want to. Like ideally, I'd rather pivot off of Tyler Boyd in this matchup.
Alrighty, at tight end, it's a great matchup for Irv Smith. Is that Irv Smith? That's the pick. Yeah, okay. Yeah. My eyes, I'm like, Irv Smith, that doesn't feel right, but I'm like, I know who that guy is. Irv Smith, yeah, it's a great matchup. I'm still not playing him unless it's out of desperation. Tyler Higbee, it's a bad matchup, and he's been bad this year. He's been very disappointing. I thought he's someone I had a lot of where I missed on the early tight ends. I am sitting both. Kicker, it's a top 5 matchup for Evan McPherson. I am going to start him. Brett Maher, it's 7th best matchup. Probably going to start him. And then the DSTs here, I think I prefer to avoid this game. The Bengals are always a threat to score, so as good as the Rams D has been at times, I think I'd prefer to sit them. And the Rams have actually been able to score themselves, so I don't think I have either of these Ds as top 12. I think they're both probably in the 13 to 18 range, right around middle of the pack. But so I think I'm sitting tight ends, starting both kickers, and then sitting the DSTs. How about you?
Yeah, Higbee is who he is. Like he gets that usage. He's just always disappointing. He's kind of like the Alexander Madison of tight ends, where he'll get work and he'll be there, but he just never produces. So it's kind of what it is with him. And Irv Smith, like I don't want to play Irv Smith. He's the 4th option. Like no, thank you. Like I'm just good. So I'm not gonna play one of those guys. And yeah, I'm with you on the kickers and defense. You can stream the defense if you want to, but it's not really a matchup I'm trying to target for either one of them.
Next up, we have the Titans at the Browns. Browns by 3.5. Starting here with the quarterbacks, we've got Deshaun Watson, who has looked terrible, and Ryan Tannehill, who is terrible. But at this point, I don't think they're that far apart. It is the worst matchup for Deshaun Watson, and it is a middle of the pack matchup for Tannehill. I think you have to start both of them probably in a super flex. I don't think you want to start either of them in a single QB. I'm sure there's people out there who drafted Watson as their one, and if they weren't smart enough to handcuff him with someone else, they're probably going to have to start him. But I don't think I want either of these guys in a single QB league this week. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not really chasing the quarterbacks in this matchup. The thing with Tennessee is they're going to force them to pass the ball. So we'll see how this works because Jerome Ford's the hot new thing, but their defense really, that's the thing.
The numbers you see on the graphics, I should have mentioned that. That's their production from last week. So you'll see Tannehill had 25 last week. So I didn't do it by positions. I just put what they put up last week in fantasy. So
yeah, I'm more confident in starting Watson than I am Tannehill, just based on how the defenses play. And you're going to need Watson to produce to do it, obviously. But it's a solid matchup. I don't mind going him. Tannehill, I'm just a little bit more worried on. He's not someone I'm super confident in.
I added this Browns defense in a lot of places. I think they're pretty solid.
Yeah, they're definitely good.
Running backs here, we have Derrick Henry. This is the second worst matchup for a running back. And on the other side, we have, Jerome Ford mixing in with, I guess, Kareem Hunt here. That's the seventh worst matchup for them. So it's not a great matchup for either running back. I am starting Derrick Henry because he is the thing that makes the Titans move. If they have anything, it's going to be Derrick Henry. On the other side of the ball, I know everyone spent a lot of money on Jerome Ford. I think it was out of my 73 leagues, I had 6 where Ford was available. I needed running backs in most of them. I think I put in 4 of them, I put in a 75% bid, and in 2, I didn't need the running back as much, and I only went 50%. I got him once. He went for 95, 102 different leagues. So having said that, I don't think I want to start him this week. We don't know how it's going to shake out. I know if you are going to start Ford, this is the week to do it. I know it's a tough matchup, but this is the week where you're probably going to see Kareem Hunt have the smallest role. So if they come out here and this is a 50-50 split, your Jerome Ford shares are dead because Kareem Hunt is only going to get more and more as this goes on. First week in the offense, it's probably going to be Ford. I still don't like the matchup, but like I said, I don't want to play either Browns running back this week, but if you have Ford, this is probably going to be the best week you have out of them. It just sucks they drew a really shitty matchup this week. I assume you're starting Henry. What do you think about the Browns backfield here?
So the interesting thing with Ford is it's not a great matchup, but his next few matchups aren't good. But I just don't believe in.
That's the problem with the fab. But when I remember listening to a podcast and they were saying before you spend all your fab on him, look at it. You're probably not going to be able to play him with confidence for a month.
But it's a season long bid. You're not. The thing with him is you're not getting players because he's an explosive and Kareem Hunt's not. And this offense needs someone who's an explosive running back because if they take that away, this offense is really struggling to find explosive players. So he's going to be a focal point of this offense. The way I look at Hunt is he just limits his ceiling more than anything. So this week is probably going to be the highest usage you'll see it for. It'll come down a little bit, but I still expect him to lead the job. I have him as kind of a high to mid-range RB2 rest of the year. It's just, it might be a few tough matchups, but I'll throw him out there this week as a flex play. The usage is going to be there, so I'm not too worried about him in the short term.
The wide receivers, it's the second worst matchup for the Browns and the third best for the Titans. I think I feel comfortable starting D-Hop as a low-end 2, high-end 3, and Burks as a 3 or a flex. I have a sneeze stuck. Can you tell? I'm just sitting there and I just know it's going to – I want to hit my mute button, but I know I'm going to start talking and it's going to come out mid-sentence. So we have a borderline 2-3 for D-Hop and a 3 flex for Burke. On the other side of the ball, it's a tough matchup, but I still think I'm good with Cooper as a high-end 2. I don't think I want to play anyone else. Eli Moore, DPJ, David Bell. Eli Moore, I think if you need a flex is all right, but I think it's Cooper for me on the Browns, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm going to play him more in this matchup. I get the matchups have been not looking favorable early on, but how Tennessee plays defense, like it should even out a little bit. They really try to stop the run, and like that's their strength, so that's where they're good at. I purposely will target wide receivers going against them every week, just because their pass defense is just suspect. So yeah, I'll fire up Elijah Moore as like a wide receiver 3 flex. Amari Cooper, he's like you just lock him in, you play him, and yeah, like I'll play DeAndre Hopkins, and then I'm gonna flex Treylon Burks as well. Like the usage is kind of suspect, but you're just more betting on talent. So that's how I'm treating this matchup for those 4.
Alrighty, to breeze through the rest of it, we've got it's a bad matchup for David Njoku. I don't think I want to play him right now, anyways. Middle of the pack matchup with Chigo Okonkwo. Another guy I probably don't want to play, so I would sit both tight ends if you have options. Cleveland defense, it's a middle of the pack matchup for against Tennessee. Tennessee, apparently, it's a good matchup for them because the Browns aren't that high scoring. I don't think either team is a sit. I don't think either DST is an avoid. If you got him, you can start him. I prefer Cleveland, despite the fact that Tennessee apparently has a better matchup. So both of them are start worthy, but not must start. Sorry, that is kicker. I'm reading the wrong chart. My kickers, that made more sense. I'm looking at it. I'm going, why does my chart say that? Okay, so my kickers are, that's why. Okay, so the Titans have the much better kicking matchup, but once again, they're still both kickers in this one. I'm drawing a blank here. They changed it. It's Dustin Hopkins on the Browns. Who's the damn kicker on Tennessee?
On the Titans? Oh gosh, who is their kicker?
Shudak? Is it Caleb Shudak? Okay, well either way,
I'm not 100% sure.
I don't really want to play either of them. I like Hopkins slightly more. And then to move on to the correct chart here, we have the DSTs. I'm starting Cleveland over Tennessee. They both rank as middle of the pack matchups. Actually, Tennessee, this still my screw up originally held true because it still says that Tennessee gets the better matchup, but I would prefer to start Cleveland here. So to summarize my little mix up there, I am sitting both tight ends if you can. I'm sitting both kickers if you can. And I'm probably sitting, well, both defense could be started, but they're not must starts. I prefer the Browns. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that like checks out kind of what I'm thinking. The tight ends, I'm not really chasing. Again, you could play Njoku if you want to, but like it's just been a struggle for him early on. So maybe he catches on in this matchup, but it's not an ideal matchup for to play him. And then the kickers, yeah, I'm not chasing either one. The defense, I'm with you on that. I would rather play the Browns defense, but like they're both kind of just, you play them and you just hope they get some big plays for you is the way I'm looking at it.
That was a fun little segment I just had there. The Dayquil is doing a number on me.
It's kicking in, yeah.
That was not easy to get through. All right, next up we have the Steelers at the Raiders. The line is Raiders by 2.5, which is probably an indictment on how fucking terrible the Steelers are.
Sheesh.
Quarterback here, I think we have 2 guys you can probably start in a super flex, and I don't know if I want either of them in single. Actually, in single QB, I don't want either of them right now. Garoppolo, it's a decent matchup for him. Pickett, it's a below average matchup. I think as scary as this is going to be, as bad as this is going to sound, I prefer Jimmy this week over Pickett, but I don't really want either of them unless I have to, or it's super flex. What do you think about these two shit sacks?
I'll play Pickett over Jimmy G. Jimmy G is the most like low ceiling, just floor play like you can get at quarterback. He never has the big games. So if you're playing him, you probably have a better option in one QB. Like realistically, it's just not there. At least Pickett has some rushing, so there's that. You can at least chase that. And that offense has been so bad, it's hopefully going to get better. The Raiders are the perfect matchup for that to like get better and get your offense right. So that's what I'm kind of expecting with that. So we'll see. It could just be trash, and that wouldn't shock me either. But this ideally looks like a good matchup for him to get right.
This looks on paper to be a great matchup for both running backs. It's the best one for Najee, and it's the third best one for Jacobs. I prefer Josh Jacobs by a mile here. I think he finally gets back on track and goes off for 20-plus fantasy points, finishes as a top 5. I also like Najee here as probably an RB2. Warren scares me a bit. I think you can flex Warren if you have to. But I would say I think I could start all 3. Jacobs as a 1, Najee as a 2, Warren as probably a flex. What are your thoughts on the 3 backs in this one?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If you're able to buy Josh Jacobs right now at his low point, go do it because he gets this ideal matchup where he's going to take off and he'll get over 20 fantasy points this game. Like I'm fully expecting that.
It's funny. The superstar struggling buy low conversations are always fun. I forget who it was. It might have been I was listening to fantasy football today and it said buy low on, I forget who it was. It wasn't, maybe it was someone like Josh Jacobs. So it's like buy low, try sending, sell high. If you have Puka Nakua and Kyron Williams, try and buy low, buy Josh Jacobs low. So I think I sent those exact two and got countered with like Puka Nakua, Kyron Williams, and Amari Cooper for Josh Jacobs. I'm like, do you guys play in real leagues? Nobody's selling you these players for what you're saying. It's like, buy low. It's like, the guy who had Jacobs, if he thought his value was 90, 2 weeks in, you know what his asking price is? 89.5.
Yeah,
nobody's selling these fucking people low.
It's more of a dynasty mindset. Like so I had the same problem in redraft. Like I'm actually like paying good prices for these guys. I'm like, fuck it, I'll pay it. And just immediate declines. No one's countering, no one doing anything. So like from a dynasty mindset, you go to redraft, you're like, oh fuck, that's right. People don't like to trade in redrafts, and it's just impossible to like quote unquote buy low, right? It's not it is. But it's more like dynasty. Yeah.
I trade more in my redraft leagues, man. People panic in the short term. You don't see in dynasty, you don't see people selling out for that 1 week running back because it's not worth it long term. But I find it's way easier to trade in redraft. But you can't buy low like the some of these podcasts suggest. Go buy Jamar Chase low. Nobody's selling Jamar Chase low.
You got to buy him high. It's like, here, I will give you CD Lamb. Like, cool, we'll make that happen. But like, yeah, you're not going to buy low, right? It's like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
The receivers, it's the 11th best matchup for Raiders wide receivers, and for the Steelers, it is. It's 14. So both middle of the pack matchups here. George Pickens, I guess I'm starting for a volume play here and kind of the Gabe Davis theory where this defense sucks so bad he might get behind them for one long touchdown. I want no part of Allen Robinson. Calvin Austin's maybe a hold if you're desperate and think he breaks out. The other side of the ball, Devontae Adams is an easy start. I don't think I want anyone else. Is Jacoby Myers, is he not practicing?
I haven't heard anything about him, but if he's playing, I'm starting him.
Like, if he plays, I'm starting him. Actually, he was another one where he came out in my rankings a lot higher than I thought he would. And I was like, wow, apparently my numbers and spreadsheets are high on Jacoby Myers. So I'm starting Adams as a 1, Pickens as a 2, Myers as a low end 2-3 if he plays. Thoughts?
I'm right there with you. So I was curious to see how it would go without Deontay, and no surprise, the best wide receiver on the team got the targets. The weird thing is, like, we'll get into Freiermuth in a second and how much of a disaster he's been. But Pickens, like, he did what you wanted him to do. He took a deep shot to the house, and like that's all you need with players of his talent. So I'm chasing him in this matchup. The Raiders defense is not good, and Devontae Adams, like, he could legit finish as the wide receiver 1 in this week. Like, that's how good he is in the matchup. So yeah, you just fire both those guys up. And if you want to take a shot on Jacoby, feel free. Outside of that, I just don't trust the rest of the guys. There's this just too low of a floor. So it's basically pick your poison if you want to start any of them.
The tight ends, it's a pretty bad matchup for Freiermuth. He's looked bad. I think if you got him, you probably have to go back to him. The Raiders' defense are nothing to write home about. It's a great matchup for Raiders tight ends. The problem is, can you really play Austin Hooper? Can you have any faith in Mayer? Oh, excuse me, the cold and sinus is taking effect here. So I definitely sit the Raiders. I'd sit Freiermuth if you have a better option, but you probably don't. At kicker, it's a great matchup for Boswell, but I hate playing Pittsburgh kickers. Mike Tomlin seems to hate them, so I'm probably sitting him. Daniel Carlson, it is the 5th worst matchup for opposing kickers. I think if you've got Carlson, you probably just got to play him anyways. So let's just say it just lowers his ceiling to more of a mid to low end kicker 1. That's such an awkward sentence. The matchup for the Raiders DST ranks as the 6th best, and it's middle of the pack for the Steelers. I still feel more comfortable starting the Steelers as a mid to low end 1, and I'm probably if you have the Raiders, I can't see why you would have the Raiders DST. if you happen to be in a 32 team league and they are your DST, I guess you can play them. But like,
Yeah.
I get Pittsburgh's a fucking dumpster fire, but I have no interest in the Raiders here. So I think it's avoid both tight ends if you can. Start Daniel Carlson, bench Chris Boswell, avoid the Raiders DST, and start the Steelers just with a lower ceiling.
Yeah, right there with you. The one thing is Freiermuth is like he was drafted high enough. You're basically depending on him in redraft leagues. Like he was a top 8 tight end. So you have him. I mean, you could go chase somebody on waivers if you really want to, if one of those like rookies or anyone important is available. But if you have him, you can just play him and hope it works out. If it doesn't work out this week, I'd probably consider dropping him in redraft just because.
It's funny in the leagues. In the leagues where I do have him, and a lot of them, well, this is true, I guess, with a lot of the tight ends. There's been a lot that have been disappointing through the first 2 weeks, and I find I have an insane amount of shares now of guys like Hunter Henry, Hayden Hurst. Hunter Henry, I picked him up everywhere, and it's uncomfortable how many leagues I'm playing him in because, I've got Freiermuth who sucks. I think in one league I played him over to Kittle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like the Kittle just scares the crap out of me. But yeah, like that's the Bill O'Brien effect. He loves to use those tight ends, and it's working out for Henry so far. So I'm going to keep riding that.
Next, we have the Bears going to KC. KC is favored by 12.5. This one's going to be one-sided. Mahomes is easy. He's a start, despite the fact that it's a bottom 6 matchup. I don't know. They must just be a run funnel. The Bears, Justin Fields looks like shit. He is the 8th best matchup. If you have Fields, you probably got to play him. Unless you handcuffed him with if you handcuffed him with Kirk Cousins, you're playing Kirk Cousins. But I don't know who else maybe Daniel Jones. If you got him maybe with Dak or Tua, play all those guys over him. Fields looks terrible. I had in at least 2 leagues, I think this week, offers, and I turned down my Anthony Richardson for their Justin Fields. So one dynasty, one redraft. I traded a lot of Fields last year because I wasn't impressed. And then for the last 8 games of the season, I looked like a total moron giving them away. And now I'm really glad because my one redraft league or my one dynasty league, I traded him for a first. Actually, I think I sold him. I sold him right when he started to get hot. I sold him for 2 firsts. And in the offseason, all they did was bust my balls on how stupid I looked. Superflex, you can't give away a quarterback for 2 firsts. Well, those 2 firsts ended up turning into Jahmyr Gibbs and Anthony Richardson, so I don't hate the trade now. So I don't mind it so much. Suddenly, I don't look so stupid. But
oh man, yeah.
Mahomes, I said, must start. Fields, you probably got to start him anyways, unless you happen to get lucky and your backup quarterback is Kirk Cousins. Thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm still playing Fields. Like he still has a very high floor. He's averaging 15 points per game. So that's kind of his baseline of where without the rushing, which is weird. I don't understand what Luke Getsy's doing. But why are you not having this guy run? Because his processing and passing has sucked and has been really bad this year. So I would imagine in this matchup, they're going to be down by a lot. So it's going to be a lot of Justin Fields in this matchup nonstop throughout. So I could see him having a bad game, but still producing fantasy wise. So if you have him, you're playing him. I could even consider starting him over Tua just because I get it. The Denver matchup scares me more. That type of question mark. I'd still be betting on Fields this week. It's just ugly, but he's going to produce. So, yeah. And Mahomes, what you don't ever bench Mahomes. Just play him.
I'm looking through my matchups here, and it's are the Bears just a really are they keeping the score down? No, hey? Okay, so no, they were a good matchup for Fields. I got it. Okay, no, I'm looking on the Chiefs side of the ball. Okay, so they weren't a good matchup for the Bears were a bad matchup for quarterback.
Yep.
They're a bad matchup for running back too. Who the hell are they giving them? Let me scroll down. They're a middle of the pack matchup for wide receivers. Who is putting up all the points? Just tight ends? Are they just giving all the points to tight? Because it says they don't give up much to the quarterback. They haven't given up much to the wide receiver. They haven't given up. They must just be having it spread completely around and everyone's scoring on them to the point where it's not really affecting them matchup wise because they look like a bad matchup for quarterback and a middle to low or to below average matchup for running back and wide receiver. So
yeah, the defense, it's been a bright spot for them early on. I thought it would be a trash defense. They look like they're solid defense at least. So they're kind of keeping them in games.
Oh,
I think they have the 12th DVOA right now, which is
it's not what I expected to see. So I got into the running backs there. Like I said, it's a slightly below average matchup for whoever the hell you're playing out of the Chiefs. probably Pacheco. His usage has been, you know, I don't know. It's been hit and miss. It's not as bad as I thought. He's just not really producing. I don't want anything to do with Hilaire or Edwards-Hilaire, and I don't want anything to do with McKinnon. On the Chicago side, it's the 5th best matchup for a running back. I am probably going right back to the Roschon Johnson well. I think this job is pretty much his, and I don't think we're going to see all that much Herbert or Foreman. I'm probably starting Pacheco as a low-end 2 or a flex. I'm sitting the rest of the Chiefs. Roschon, probably the same, low-end 2 or a flex, and I'm flexing Herbert if I have to and avoiding Foreman. So I could see starting 3 running backs in this one, but I don't really have any of them ranked higher than 20.
Yeah, that checks out with me. Like, that makes sense. Yeah, you're gonna start Pacheco just because the game script and everything. He could get multiple touchdowns in this game. Their offense is just too good. I don't really want to touch any other guys. Maybe you want to take a flyer on McKinnon. I think the Bears aren't doing great against pass catching running backs. So if you want to target that, you could take a flyer on him, but I would not play him. And then, yeah, Roschon, just because the game script, they're going to be down by a lot. He's going to be in more in this game. Khalil Herbert still splitting snaps and stuff like that. But in this type of game, I expect Roschon to be more involved, where Herbert just basically gets neutralized after the first quarter. And it's a lot of Roschon is how I expect this game to play out. So of those 2 running backs, I'm playing Roschon.
Wide receiver, it is the 9th best matchup for wide receiver. I'm starting DJ Moore probably as a mid-range wide receiver too if I have him. I don't really want anything else to do with this. I know Chase Claypool looked good. I'm not trusting him. You want to stash him, stash him. The Chiefs, it's a medium to low-end matchup for the receivers. I don't hate Sky Moore. I don't hate Tony. I don't hate Rashee Rice. The problem is throw a dart or spin a roulette wheel to see which one it lands on this week. So I don't really feel comfortable starting any of them as more than a flex. Ideally for me, they're guys I'm stashing with an extra spot to see if one of them pans out. I don't think I want any of them in my lineup. So as far as receivers go in this game, it's pretty much DJ Moore as a 2, and I'm sitting everyone else.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. It's DJ Moore's the focal point of the passing attack on offense. I will say that Mooney's dealing with that injury, so like you maybe could consider playing Mooney, but off the injury, not going to do it. And then on the Chiefs side, it's pick your wide receiver. Like, which one do you prefer, right? Because the usage is all similar. They're going to involve Tony, they're going to involve Sky Moore, and they're going to involve Rashee Rice. So like you're saying, it's just like if you have a favorite, play them. No one's standing out in that offense right there, besides the tight end. But like it just feels like a roulette wheel. Spin it, and maybe one of them hits this week.
Tight ends, as you said, both of them are middle of the pack for matchups. I don't care. Cole Kmet, I'm probably starting still as a low end 1. Travis Kelce, I'm starting as tight end Jesus. It doesn't matter. I don't care. It's a decent matchup. Don't care. The ambiguity of the wide receivers is all the more reason why you can start Kelce. Start him everywhere. Probably start Kmet if you have him. At kicker, Cairo Santos, it's a middle of the pack matchup. If you've got him, you can start him. Always check in for weather. It's, never know. He's not a target. I wouldn't stream him, but if you have him, you don't have to drop him. As far as the Chiefs side of the ball, it's a bad matchup for Butker. But if you drafted Butker, you probably can't afford to drop him. Just assume that it's going to be a lot of extra points and not that many field goals. But I think you can probably start both kickers. The DST, I'm never starting any DST against the Chiefs. They're one of the 5 teams. I will not play a DST against the Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, Cowboys, Niners. Those are the 5. So Bears, don't even consider them. I don't know why you would even have the Bears DST, but if you do, drop them for pretty much anyone. Drop them for the Raiders if you have to. We said they're not a terrible option. The Bears are a terrible option. The Chiefs defense has actually looked like they could be good. Mm-hmm. They are the 3rd best matchup, so I am starting them probably as a high-end 1 here, maybe top 4 or 5 option. The line can't stop anyone, so there should be sacks. Justin Fields takes a ton of sacks. Justin Fields throws the ball into coverage and throws tons of picks. Justin Fields will not put up a lot of points. This seems like a bonanza for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are a must start. So Kelce must start. Kmet probably start. Start Butker. Santos indifferent. Bench the Bears and start the Chiefs. That's pretty much how I see the end of the roster here.
Yeah, right there with you. Like I don't know why we even need to discuss Kelsey. He's a tight end one forever until eternity, until he falls. Komet's like seeing usage is pretty good. So if you want to play Komet, go for it. Like I just don't think he's that good, honestly. But hey, he's
I
getting
don't
usage.
either.
So.
That's why I said his usage is good.
Yeah, that's the thing you're chasing with him.
That's why I said he's a low end one.
Yep.
Based on his usage, if I had any faith in him, and I was the Komet guy, but not anymore. If I had any faith, he'd be a high end one with that usage. But
yeah, my buddy sent Andrews in a deal and got back Komet, and I was just like, why? What are you doing? Don't do that. But it was like already done. I was like, oh no.
Next, we have the Colts going to Baltimore. Baltimore by 8. Lamar Jackson. It's a low end matchup for him. Doesn't matter. You're starting him anyways as probably a mid range QB1 with high end upside. Richardson, it is a good matchup in theory if he plays. If Richardson plays, I'm starting him. I think he's a mid-range QB1 at worst. Gardner Minshew plays, I'm probably comfortable playing him in a super flex league. I'm obviously not playing him in a 1 QB, but he's not the worst start in super flex. What do you think about these three?
Agreed. Like he was 19 for 23 last week with 171 yards and a touchdown. Like Minshew has those days where if they need to pass and like he could just dig and dunk his way to success for you. So if he's playing, I can still see the case. But like I'm not in 1 QB, like no. In Superflex, yeah, I'll for sure play Minshew if he starts. Richardson, yeah, he's a high end like QB1. Like I'd take him over Field each week from this one and just ride with him. Like it's just you're just safer. Like you don't have to worry about that stuff. And yeah, Lamar's Lamar. Like you just always play Lamar.
Minshew's got that Ryan Fitzpatrick YOLO. I don't give a fuck. It's just like he knows he's not going to be a star. He knows he's just a backup. So when he does get his spot start or, a couple of games, he just goes out there and he's like, fuck it. I'm just going deep. And it would be that Ryan Fitzpatrick game where it's 3 turnovers, but he throws for 500 yards and just says, fuck this. I don't care. Pick it. It's going to be a touchdown or an interception. I don't give a shit. So.
Oh, absolutely.
At running back, it's a bad matchup for a bad rushing attack for the Ravens. Justice Hill looks like he's going to miss this one. So people are inevitably going to load up on Gus Edwards. I guess if you got to flex him. I really want no part of it. I think Lamar will just pass more and run the ball himself. The Colts, it's a middle of the pack matchup. Jonathan Taylor's still out. I know people are really high on Zach Moss, and I have been a bit too. I feel he's an all right flex here. I don't know if I want to put him as my RB2. I think he'll probably volume his way because he was 98% snap share. I don't really like facing this Ravens defense. So I have Moss significantly over Edwards, but I think I feel like Moss is maybe a borderline 2 flex. Edwards is a straight up desperation flex for me.
Yeah, like the weird thing is if they take away Justice Hill, like Edwards just gets more volume, and he's always been one of the most like efficient rushers of the ball, like in his entire career. It's just he never sees the volume, so he'll be solid. Like you're not going to get a ceiling case with him, but he could fall his way in a touchdown and get like 11 carries for 70 yards and touchdown. He'd be a solid player. Like Moss, he's like seeing Saquon Barkley level freaking volume and where it's pretty crazy. It's just because Deion Jackson was so bad, like I was saying after that, like they're going to give Zach Moss all the work he can handle. So until they get somebody else on the roster that can play, like Zach Moss is going to get volume. So I'm going to play Zach Moss.
I never thought I'd say this about a Ravens-Colts matchup, but I think the receivers are the ones I want here. It's the second best matchup for Pittman and the Colts. And I know they're going to say, but what if Minshew plays instead of Richardson? I think that moves it up. I think Minshew is even better for the passing game because he's just going to throw YOLO balls. It doesn't matter. You're not going to see him rush. He's just going to throw it up. So I like Pittman as a low-end 1. Josh Downs, Pierce probably just holds for me. I don't really want to start either of them. Baltimore, it's the 6th best matchup for them. I think Zay Jones is a must-start as a high-end 2, possibly a low-end 1. OBJ has been injured. I don't want to play him. Bateman, if you got to flex him or play him as a wide receiver 3, I could do it. But for me, this one goes Pittman, Flowers, Bateman. Don't really want to play the other 3.
Yeah, like Bateman's one of the more frustrating players the last few years. Like the talent's there, he just can't put it together. And now he's getting out-targeted by freaking Aguilar and stuff like that. He just basically how I view him is how I view these deep threats in other offenses like Gabe Davis. Like he can hit a deep flurry. But he still only saw 3 targets last week, and so I don't forget. I'm just not playing Bateman. Like if you can flex him, sure, if you want to, but the floor is super low with him. I'll actually put Downs above him in this matchup. if especially if Minshew's playing, like they're going to pass at a higher rate, and he's going to super hyper target Pittman, and then they're likely going to be down a lot, so that means Downs is going to be involved. So I'll have Downs as my wide receiver 3 of the 4. But yeah, I'm firing up Pittman like or wide receiver 1, and Zay Flowers is wide receiver 2 for me.
Tight end, it's a bad matchup for Mark Andrews. I don't care. I'm starting him as a high-end top 3 option. The Colts, whether it be Jelani Woods, Mo Alley Cox, Kylan Granson, it's a middle-of-the-pack matchup for them. I don't care. I'm not starting them unless I have to.
Yeah.
Kicker, we have, where is Tucker on here? Tucker, it's a middle-of-the-pack match. I don't care. I'm still playing Tucker pretty much every week. If you drafted him, it means you drafted the first kicker, so you got to play him. It's the same level of matchup on the Colts side of the ball for Matt Gay. He's a startable play, not necessarily a target. So I guess if you have him, don't drop someone else, just play him. Defense, I feel comfortable starting the Ravens here. The Colts kind of scare me. They do have potential. The Colts, I want no real part of, I don't think. So for me, it's start Andrews, bench Colts tight end, start Tucker, probably play Matt Gay. And then on the defenses, I think the Ravens are probably DST 7 or 8 for me, and the Colts are probably 13 or 14. What do you think of those?
I like the Ravens more if Minshew plays their defense, just because there's more likely turnovers that going to come. Yeah, because Richardson doesn't really turn the ball over. That's the thing, and he's going to rush, so it kind of like minimizes them. So if Minshew's playing, I'll bump them up a little bit higher. But yeah, I'm going to fire them up. The kicker, like you're saying, same thing. And the tight ends, it's pretty straightforward. Like Andrews, Granson, I guess you could take a shot on him, but you don't really want to play any Colts in this matchup.
All right, we have 3 games left? 3 games left. The next one up is the Broncos at the Dolphins. Dolphins by 6.5. Tua, I think, is a must start. He is at worst a mid-range QB1. Russell Wilson is the QB3 on the season. He is currently probably in QB1 range here. I think he's more of a low-end QB1. I think this is a mirage, and he's not going to be that great. Both of them middle of the pack matchups. I'm starting both of them if I have them. Tua is a must start. Russell Wilson is a can start. You know, if you have Wilson, you likely handcuffed him. You could have Wilson and Tua. I'm starting Tua very easily over Wilson, but I will start Wilson. What are your thoughts on these two?
Yeah, I'm playing both quarterbacks in this matchup. Both defenses we thought were going to be good, and they've just been getting shredded. Particularly the Dolphins defense. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on over there, but they're just getting neutralized. So, yeah, I'm going to fire them both up. It's interesting. Russell Wilson's like, he's really good. You look at all his metrics. He's like number 4th in passer rating. He's top 12 in QBR. He's 4th in like EPA per play. So he's been really good. So, yeah, I'm going to play both quarterbacks until I see differently.
Hitting a 60-yard Hail Mary tends to boost your numbers.
Yep.
Running back side of the ball. For the Dolphins, it's the 4th best matchup. I'm starting Mostert as a running back 2 everywhere. A-Chain, I like to stash. He looks like he's slowly finding his way into the offense. Wilson's another one. Due off of IR in a couple of weeks. Stash him. You might get 2 more weeks with Mostert as a must start, and then it's going to be messy again. But I got Mostert as a 2 this week. The Broncos side of the ball, it's a decent matchup. I don't know what to make here. I like Javonte. I just don't, he's not fully up to speed yet. Yeah. I think he's a low end 2 with the potential to eventually get up to full speed and be a 1. Still a risky play. McLaughlin, I think it's a dart throw. Same with Pirine. They're both just flex plays in desperation. So for me, I'm probably going Mostert and then Javonte, and then the rest of them are probably all stashes or desperation plays for me. How about you?
Yep. Same right there with you. You want to stash both of those backup Miami Dolphins running back just because we see how valuable the role is. So if Mostert gets hurt, one of those guys is going to step in. We want to see A-Chain do something more. He hasn't really done much of anything. So ideally we see more, but you just got to wait with those guys. And yeah, Javonte's the guy. Like, he's slowly coming on more and more. His expected points are double that of Pirine. So like, they're in value. His role is more valuable already. And it's only going to increase. So yeah, like, I'll play them both as RB2s this week.
At receiver, it's a top 12 matchup for the Broncos. Don't really care. Judy, I think I could play him as a 2 or a 3. Sutton as a 3 or a flex if I have to. Mims probably as a 3 or a flex if I have to. Not really comfortable with any of the 3. On the Dolphins side of the ball, it is the fourth worst matchup for receivers. I don't care. I'm starting Hill as the potential wide receiver 1 on the week. I'm starting Jalen Waddle as the potential wide receiver 1 on the week, even though Waddle looks like he may be a game time decision. But for me, this is Tyreek Hill by a mile, Jalen Waddle, then another mile, and then we have Judy, Mims, Sutton in some order. But like, I would take either Dolphins receiver over the other 3 combined on the other side. So what do you think?
That's how I look at it. So, like, this is what I was talking about with Judy. People need to be patient and come back from the hamstring because he only saw 68% of snaps, and that's the thing. So you wanted to wait until this week to play him. Now that he's kind of back into game shape, they're going to play him more. So, like, yeah, I'll fire up Judy. He's going to be like a low-end wide receiver 2 for me. Both Hill and Waddle are above. Waddle's a question mark, but Hill's like basically top. I don't care. I'm playing Hill no matter what. Waddle, you just bump down a little bit in this matchup. But, yeah, those 2. And then you want to flyer flex, like, you can make Sutton a flex play. And then I will say you could just stash Marvin Mims just to see how it shakes out for later.
It's an excellent matchup for Durham Smythe at tight end, the second best. If you got the balls to play him, it's not a terrible play. He could get in there, but I personally don't want to. It's an okay matchup for Adam Troutman, who I thought would be better and looked like shit last week. I would sit both of these guys unless you have no other option. Kicker, both middle of the pack here, whether it be Will Lutz or Jason Sanders. I think you can start both of them. I prefer Sanders over Lutz. Moving on to DST. I normally love the Broncos DST. I'm not touching them this week because the Dolphins will score 40. Dolphins defense, I'm normally lukewarm on. Broncos have been putting up points, so I think in the end I'm not going to play either of these defenses. You probably this week puts you in one of these shitty situations where if you roster the Miami Dolphins defense or the Denver Broncos defense, you are probably either going to have to drop them or roster a second defense, depending on what your situation is like. So to summarize, don't play any of the tight ends. Play the kickers if you have them. And probably don't play any of the Ds. Although I guess if you are desperate, you could probably play Miami if you don't want to drop them. Denver, I don't know what I would do. If you're in a situation where Denver's your D and you can't afford to roster a second D, do you drop them for who did I pick up earlier? Do you drop them for Jacksonville, who has Houston, or do you just play them and hope you don't take too many lumps against Miami?
I'm fine dropping both defenses at this point in the season. Like, we're looking at matchups upcoming. Like, they don't have great matchups either. So it's kind of like if you see a better matchup, like I'm just fine cutting the cord with those guys and moving on. Defense is the most unpredictable of all the fantasy like skill position players. So it's just like it's so in flux. I'm fine with moving on from like certain teams, and those 2 guys I'll drop them, no problem.
All right, I don't disagree. Next up, we have the Patriots going to New York to face the Jets. Pats are 2.5 point favorites. Didn't think I would say that. We have Matt Jones on one side of the ball, who has looked pretty good. Didn't look as great last week. This defense going to eat his ass alive. Then we have Zach Wilson, who looks like shit. And the Patriots going to eat his ass alive. So I think if you have Mac Jones in a super flex, you're going to play him. If you have Zach Wilson in a super flex, you're probably already eliminated. Sorry, man, the fucking NyQuil and the cold sinus. I'm foggy right now. My voice is going. I'm foggy. But so Mac, you can play as a QB2. Zach Wilson, I think you should probably be relegated if you roster him. So it's a middle of the pack matchup for Wilson. It is a bad matchup for Mac Jones. I still easily prefer Mac Jones, but like I said, he's a mid to low end QB2 for me this week. And Wilson is a CFL for me this week.
Yeah, I think we kind of saw last week the Jets defense get a little bit exposed where everybody said they're like world class, but they're not on par with the Cowboys defense. Like we saw the difference in those 2 defenses. And obviously one's playing Zach Wilson and one playing Dak Prescott, but still you kind of see. So like, yeah, I mean, if you need to play Mac Jones, I get it. Like that's fine. But he's more a super flex QB2. You'll play him. Don't touch Zach Wilson. Just why? Why? There's got to be somebody else available to play over Zach Wilson. If you need to, I don't care. Make a trade. You just don't want to play Zach Wilson. Like we're just not doing that.
Running back position, it's a middle of the pack matchup for both. If you've got Ramondre, you're starting him. I think he's probably low end 1, high end 2. I don't want anybody else out of this backfield. I'm not touching Zeke. The Jet side of the ball, I think you can start Brees as a mid to high end 2. Dalvin if you're desperate. So it's pretty easily Ramondre for me as a 1-2, Brees as a 2, and then Cook as maybe a desperation. And I think I don't mind stashing Abanaconda or Carter, but that's pretty much how I see the running backs shake out in this one. How about you?
Right there with you. Until it gets better for Brees, like they just need him to slowly progress more and more and come on. In the meantime, it kind of sucks for both of them. Dalvin's basically just worthless. Like he's not doing anything. And this is with Brees on the field. So yeah, it's Ramondre by a mile over these two guys until we see it kind of shake out a little bit better for Brees down the road. But in the meantime, it's rough.
All right, we're gonna move on to maybe my most interesting. What time are we at in the show? 50 minutes. I want to know because I'm probably gonna want to clip myself on this for later because I'm about to make a bold prediction here. But we have for the wide receiver room, it's a bad matchup for the Pats, and it's a middle of the pack matchup for the Jets. On the Pats side of the ball, whether it be Parker, Juju, Bourne, Douglas. Douglas is a good stash, I think. Bourne is a desperation flex if you have to. Juju and Parker also, I guess, desperation. These guys are all just desperation dart throw flexes. I don't really want anything to do with them. There's nothing to see on the Jets side of the ball with the exception of Garrett Wilson. And my big ball call of the week here is sit Garrett Wilson. Zach Wilson sucks. And what is Bill Belichick world renowned for doing? Shutting down your top option. This is a very, very possible game where he's going to be bracketed, blanketed, double, triple covered. And this is going to be a game where you're going to see Tyler Conklin put up 15 points because Garrett Wilson's going to put up 2 in this one. I know it's scary as hell to do, but I think if you've got anyone, I'm trying to find a way to get Wilson out of my lineup.
Yeah, Wilson's like he's barely gonna sneak into my top 36 wide receivers this week. I just don't want to play him. Like I'm right there with you. Like it's just we saw how bad it was last week. He had to basically be so good. He had to overcome Zach Wilson and score that touchdown. He still only had 2 receptions. It was a disaster. It's just it's rough.
Gonna be worse.
Yeah, if you have him, it's going to be rough. This matchup's really bad. It gets a little bit better. They play Kansas City next week, but man, it's a disaster. Like it should be low scoring. And yeah, I'll play desperation. You can talk to Parker or Juju, whoever you want, but there's not really any wide receivers
for me.
Yeah, you don't really want any wide receiver in this matchup, unfortunately. Somebody will produce, but good luck telling me which one it's going to be on either side. So it's just like,
it's rare that you see a coach who's so good at one thing that's like everyone knows it, but that's what Bill Belichick does. If you own the wide receiver 1 on a team or tight end 1, whoever their best player is, if you own the best player on a team and they face Bill Belichick, you know you're screwed that week. I don't know how I've done that. I make a lot of good sit starts for that one, and do not ever start a rookie quarterback against Bill Belichick. He eats number 1 players and rookie quarterbacks alive. I remember one year I was going into a playoff matchup, and the guy was favored big, and I said, yeah, but you're screwed because Justin Herbert had been on fire all fucking season. I said, you're screwed, man. This week, I don't care if Herbert's projected as the number 1 QB. He gets Bill Belichick, and he's going to put up a fucking dud this week. He put up like 2.5 with 4 interceptions. I'm like, I fucking told you.
There's a few exceptions if there's like a good quarterback and get like my Tyreek on those guys just because they're so good in that offense is. But yeah, usually you just fade people going against the Zach, but like the Garrett Wilson, the
tight ends here, as you froze, I'll keep us rolling. Tight ends, it's a tough matchup for Hunter Henry, who's been red hot, so it's the worst one for him. I know if you've got him, you probably have to play him because if you have him, it was out of desperation. I prefer to sit him. Tyler Conklin is the 6th best, so he's one where I would love to play him this week just because I think they're going to double cover Garrett Wilson, as I said, and it's going to go to Conklin. So sit Henry, start Conklin. Excuse me. These are the 1 and 2 best matchups for DSTs. So I think if you've got either of them, they are a must start in what should be a low scoring defensive game. And the same can be said, I think, with kicker. Kicker's probably middle of the pack here. If you've got both kickers, you could start either of them. I don't love either, but you can play them. So to recap, I'm out on Hunter Henry unless you have to. I like Tyler Conklin as a backup option here because I think Garrett Wilson gets blanketed. Start both kickers if you have to, and I like both defenses in a low-scoring, potentially turnover-filled matchup here. It's all right. I seen you freeze. I got you back. You're lucky. No, you picked perfect timing because we're at the part of that game anyways where I normally take over because, for the most part, I'm the only one who does a lot of kicker and DST rankings anyways. So it's like, I remember the first time we did a couple of these shows and we just sat there and talked about all the bottom stuff. And I'm like, we spent a half hour on kicker, tight end, and DST. And then we're like, oh, this is a waste. I'll summarize it and we'll move on. There's nothing critical here. So we will move on to our final one of the day. That would be the Houston Texans going to Jacksonville. Jags by 8.5. Suppose I should put it on screen. The quarterbacks are interesting. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is a mid to low end quarterback one, although he struggled last week. I guess the Chiefs defense may be for real. CJ Stroud looked like shit in week 1 and looked for real last week. Stroud gets a what the hell is it? Middle of the pack matchup. He's probably a super flex. I'm comfortable starting him. 1 QB, I'm out. Trevor Lawrence, it's a top 5 matchup. You're starting him in all formats. Obviously, it's still Lawrence over Stroud, but I'm pretty comfortable starting both of them in a super flex league. How about you?
Right there with you. Like Stroud looked incredibly impressive in week 2. Like he looked like a guy who knows what he's doing, knows how to make all the passes and doing them. And that's kind of the thing that he was coming in. He was the best quarterback prospect from a passing percentage, and he proved that out. So yeah, if you need to ride with Stroud, I get it. Like I'll go with you on that one. It's not the best matchup in the world, but we're okay with that. And then you're just gonna fire up Lawrence. Like the Texans, still the Texans. Like he could have a bonanza game in this one. So I'm gonna chase him and I'm just gonna fire him up.
Running back. It is a pretty good matchup for Dameon Pierce. Scares the shit out of me. I still think he's a low end too. So if I got him, I'm probably comfortable starting him. I don't want anything to do with a Gumbawala or Singletary. On the Jags side of the ball, it's a bad matchup, the third worst. If I've got ETN, I'm still probably starting him as a 2. I don't want anyone else. So this is a matchup here with 2 running backs where if I drafted them, I probably have significant capital. I'm still probably starting them both as a low end 2, but it scares the shit out of me. This is one of the games where I'm not going to want to watch it if I own either, and I'm just going to want to hope the stat line at the end of the day is tolerable. I think I go ETN over Pierce, but if I had to look, I would say they're both probably in the 18 to 22 range for me. And if I looked at my rankings, I would be willing to bet they're probably back-to-back with ETN 1 spot higher.
Yeah, at least ETN's running more routes, so that gives me a little bit more hope with him. But yeah, like the lack of pass catching usage always limits both of these guys. It's just ETN's just a more explosive back and a better offense. So like I'm going to play him over Pierce most weeks. And this is one of those weeks. It's like a solid matchup where he could produce or, he can give you 5 points like he did last week. So yeah, they're both RB2s. And like, I just think ETN has a higher upside between the two.
Whoa. Sorry, I decided I was going to go take a look at my rankings here on Fantasy Pros to see where they were. Am I higher on both of them? Where's Dameon Pierce? Sorry, I got completely sidetracked by I looked. I'm higher on one and lower on the other. So I thought I had Pierce around 18 or 20. He's at 26. Okay. My projections love ETN this week in this matchup. Yeah, I thought I had him at 16. Where do you think I have Travis Etienne?
Top 10?
4.
4? Oh, baby, that is bold.
4. Damn. I don't know. I just like I said, I have to go in and normally on the weekend once I get some more info. When I first start with my first run of Fantasy Pros, it's literally I do my projections on the spreadsheet. I don't look at any of it, and I just program it in as is. Normally on the weekend, I'll go through and adjust and convert projections from rankings, of how I actually see it. But projection-based as it is, Travis Etienne is my 4 this week. That's scary, and that's going to be adjusted. But Jesus, my projections love him.
You're like, let's go, baby, let's ride. Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, I could see like he hits that upside case and he blows up. I just think it's a wide range of outcomes with him. Jesus. He just has a lower floor, so obvious. But yeah, like I mean, if your projections tell you Robbie 4, like you should definitely be playing him.
Wide receiver scares the hell out of me. Jacksonville, it's a middle of the pack matchup. They seem to be alternating between Ridley and Kirk and Zay. I think all 3 are decent options. I think they're all Okay, so I think Kirk and Ridley are low 2s, with Ridley probably above. I think Zay Jones is probably a 3. And on the Texans side of the ball, it's the 5th worst matchup. The pass volume will not be there as much as it was the last 2 weeks. They will not score and keep up with the Jags. I get it. Nico was great. Dell was great. Woods was pretty good. I don't think I like any of these 3 more than a wide receiver 3. So if I had to rank it, I go Ridley, Kirk, Nico, Dell, Zay Jones, Robert Woods. How about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to put Nico in between Ridley and Kirk, just because Kirk's like the 2 games he's had are just so wildly different, and how he was used and how he was taken off field the other one. So I'm kind of curious to see if it's strictly a matchup base for Jacksonville each week and they mix those 2 up. But yeah, like Ridley's the guy I trust the most out of all of these guys. Nico, his metrics have been really good. They've been using him a lot, and if like they get it down by a lot, the Texans could pass 45 times again, like we've been seeing. So if that's the case, then you're going to be comfortable firing up Nico and Dell. But like Tank will be a flex. Robert Woods is also possibly a flex. It's just a little bit riskier. So like, yeah, I have it the same. I just put Nico in between. So Kirk, or Jesus Christ, I can't talk. Ridley, Nico, Christian Kirk, Tank Dell, and then if you want to fire up like Woods, he would be that flex as well.
Tight end, it's top 6 matchup for Engram. If you have him, start him. Probably a low end 1, even though he's disappointed. Dalton Schultz, middle of the pack. He's looked terrible. I'm sitting him if I can. Kicker, it's a bad matchup for McManus, so I'd probably sit him. As for Fairbairn, where the hell is he? Oh, it's also a pretty bad match. So I think I want to sit both kickers here. The DST, I want nothing to do with Houston's DST. The Jags will score. And I think the Jags are probably going to be top 3 or 4 for me, at least top 6. I've added them in a lot of the leagues where I'm streaming defense. Typically what I'll do is I'll drop my defense on waiver wire day for whoever I'm adding, and then later in the week I'll re-add a defense. So I think the Jags are my play. So start Engram, bench Schultz, start – who did I say is the kicker? Oh, bench both kickers in Fairbairn and McManus. Start the Jags with confidence and bench the Texans defense with confidence. Any major points of contention there?
I'll still play Schultz just because offense is passing so much. So I'm going to put him in and see how it goes again. But yeah, it could burn you. Like he just hasn't been that good, even though he's seeing a lot more volume than someone like Freiermuth. He'll be like a low end tight end 1, like high end tight end 2 type for you. So if you need him, you can play both.
Before we end the show, did you see my post yesterday on my Frankenstein League drama?
I did.
I wanted to tell that story briefly. To see, it was so hard to write. I was trying to write it down to explain it to the guys in the chat, but it's like so convoluted and deep that I'm like, I can't even explain this. So the Frankenstein League, you get monster cards, right? Mm-hmm. So I was the last one to pick one. So my monster card just allows me I can freeze your lineup. So whatever you played in week 2 or whatever, I get to use it once. So I looked and I'm like, okay, I'll use this where there's a good bye week. So, I got a guy coming with a bunch of guys on. So I looked at all 13 weeks of our regular season. Not once do I line up with anyone's good player bye week. So I said, fuck, this is a waste. So then I look, and the guy I play this week, he started 0-1. If you start 0-2 in this league, you go into a draw for a hero card, which would get you a 10, 15, 20, or 25% point bonus the rest of the year. So he thought he was smart and decided in week 2, fuck it, I'm a big dog. I'm going to bench all my players to make sure I lose. So he goes to 0-2, but not only the problem there is he was so good at benching his team, he set an illegal lineup, 1 player short. So it's a vampire league. So the other opponent got to steal CMC from him, who was on his bench because he fucked up. Then I played the monster card, which will put his lineup the same for this week.
Yikes.
So he had an illegal lineup, and his lineup is shit. So his lineup is going to be shit, but because he had an illegal lineup, he's allowed to sub 1 player off of his bench into that empty spot, so it's legal, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, oh, that sucks. I'm going to beat him. I'm going to kill him. I'm like 300-point favorite. But the downside is his team, his starting lineup sucks. So whoever I steal from him is going to suck, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Tuesday, he drops Rondell Moore, who was his starting flex player, to add Tank Dell. So what did I do? I went and added Rondell Moore, not because I want him, but because now he doesn't set the same lineup because he doesn't have that player. So his lineup is automatically going to be illegal. So now I can steal his best players off the bench. And then what I'm going to do is once I've stolen, I forget who it was. I think he has St. Brown on his bench. So once I've stolen St. Brown, the player I'm going to give back is Rondell Moore. So it comes full circle.
He's just like, it's a big just fuck you.
So I messaged the convener, the commissioner of the league, because I did the draft live at Canton at the expo, and I'm buddies with him. So I said, here's what's going on. Here's my plan. Here's what I want to do. Can you run this through the other commissioners to make sure everything I'm doing is legal and blah, blah. He messages back, looks good. I believe that will hold up in a court of Frankenstein. He's like, so you're good. And then his B message back, he goes, that's some next level insanity shit you're pulling there, though. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, that's like 1,000 IQ times 2. He's like, you're like 8. He's like, most people don't. Your opponent didn't think enough to look 1 week in advance to look at the schedule. He's like, you're like 12 moves ahead in this one. So I looked at it. I'm like, this guy, whoever this guy is gonna fucking hate me. And the worst part, whoever it is, I met him live because it was a live draft. So I feel bad because I don't know who it is, but he's gonna fucking hate me.
You're like, sorry, dude, you fucked up. I'm winning this league. That's left. You lose CMC and Amon-Ra St. Brown back-to-back weeks. You're like, yeah.
He got crafty. Like he was trying to be smart and tanked. So he made a smart play followed by 4 idiotic plays that are going to have him going. He's going to end up going 0-3 with both of his best players gone, and his monster card is going to be gone too. So it's like, oh, you're fucked.
He screwed himself. He has his own himself to blame.
Yeah, so I guess he shouldn't have done that. So I just thought I'd wrap it up with that because I was trying to explain it in a group chat, but it had so many layers, it was impossible to anyone who wasn't there. Like Tim did the draft live with me. And even Tim is like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, and I was there. So, all right. Well, that concludes the NFL Week 3 AFC Home Game preview. I am Aaron St. Dennis. For me and Jesse, thank you all for tuning in. Good luck in Week 3. Hopefully, you don't have Saquon tonight. Hopefully, it's a good one and isn't a one-sided, shit show here for the 49ers. All right, everyone. Take care and have a great day.